1. We're checking out this absolutely gorgeous 1972 Ford F100 that I spotted on Craigslist for $19,900. Let me tell you, this isn't your average classic pickup. This thing has been given some serious love and attention. The sellers got it listed with just 500 miles on it since the restoration, and honestly, looking at the description, they've pretty much rebuilt everything that matters. We're talking a complete overhaul of the powertrain, motor, transmission, and differential. Plus, they've modernized it with some really smart upgrades like disc brakes up front, which is a huge improvement over the original drums these trucks came with. The suspension's been redone too, and they've put on new wheels and tires to really set it off. But what really catches my eye is how they've handled the interior. They've gone through and redone everything inside. Fresh upholstery, new headliner, door panels, and even restored the gauge cluster. The bench seat setup keeps that classic truck feel that we all love about these old F100s. At $19,900, considering how clean F100s from this era are getting harder to find, and factoring in all the restoration work and upgrades, this could be a solid deal for someone looking for a turnkey classic pickup. These 72s have such a great look to them, that classic Ford truck styling that just never gets old. 2. We're looking at something really special, a 1967 Chevy El Camino that's basically been rebuilt from the ground up, listed at $29,950. And let me tell you, this isn't your average El Camino build. The heart of this beast is a rebuilt 454 big block with headers and ram air induction. That's some serious muscle. But what really gets me excited is the modern Tremec TKX 5-speed manual transmission with a Hurst shifter. That's a perfect blend of classic muscle with modern drivability right there. The seller has gone all out with the upgrades. We're talking power 4-wheel disc brakes, a completely new tubular suspension setup front and rear, and a Posey traction rear end. They've even added modern touches like LED lighting throughout, and those sweet Kindig custom door handles. The electric exhaust cutouts are a nice touch too. Quiet when you want it, wild when you don't. Inside, it's got new bucket seats, fresh headliner and carpet, all insulated with Dynamat. The Dakota Digital gauge cluster brings some modern tech to the classic dash. Even the bed has been thought through with a Rhino liner and a custom storage compartment with an onboard air compressor. Looking at the price of $29,950, considering this is a frame-off build with receipts and documentation, plus all the modern upgrades and that monster 454 under the hood, it's actually in the ballpark for a well-done El Camino. They're even throwing in uninstalled power windows and cruise control kits. 3. We're checking out this interesting 1983 Chevy C10 diesel that's up for $11,000. And let me be straight with you. This one's a bit rough around the edges, but it might be worth a look if you're into these old diesel workhorses. Let's talk about what we're dealing with here. It's got the 6.2 Detroit diesel with a Banks turbo setup, which is actually pretty cool. The seller claims 72,000 miles without a rollover, and they've done some recent work. New front brakes, bearings, headlights, tires, alternator, and glow plugs. They've even thrown in a new stereo system if you're into that. Now let's be honest about the issues because transparency is important. The truck's got a coolant leak that needs attention, and the glow plug system needs some wiring work. Right now you've got to manually hold down a heater for the glow plugs, which isn't ideal. The body's got some battle scars too. We're talking dents, scratches, and some surface rust. The headlight trim is broken and partially missing. For $11,000, you're getting an old-school diesel truck that needs some TLC. These 6.2 Detroits aren't the most powerful diesels out there, but with that Banks turbo, it should have decent pull. The big plus is that it doesn't need smog, which is a huge advantage in areas with strict emissions laws. If you're mechanically inclined and looking for a project truck that you can still drive while you fix it up, this might be worth checking out. Just make sure to factor in the cost of fixing that coolant leak and the glow plug wiring when you're negotiating. 4. We're looking at something really special, a 1974 Dodge Power Wagon that's popped up for $10,000. And let me tell you, this is one of those rare finds that gets truck lovers excited. This is a 3/4 ton 200 model with a club cab and an 8-foot bed, finished in green. What makes this truck particularly interesting is that it's a one-owner vehicle until now, being sold by the original owner's family. That's pretty rare for a truck that's nearly 50 years old. The good news keeps coming. It's got the robust 360 V8 engine, which has actually been replaced recently, so you're not dealing with a worn-out power plant. The 4X4 system is complete with front-locking hubs and a high-low transfer case, making this a proper off-road capable machine. Those dual gas tanks are a nice feature for extended range too. The seller's been upfront about the condition. The body's in very good shape for its age. And importantly, the frame is straight with no major damage. They've recently reupholstered the seats and put in new carpet, plus it's sitting on BF Goodrich all-terrain tires with plenty of tread left. At $10,000, considering the current classic truck market, this power wagon seems pretty fairly priced. You're getting a solid piece of American truck history with documented maintenance, fresh engine, and recent interior work. These old power wagons are getting harder to find, especially in this condition and with single-owner history. 5. Let me tell you about this fascinating 1974 Chevy Cheyenne that's caught my attention. This is one of those classic square-body Chevys that's been transformed into a working flatbed. And at $19,500, it's worth taking a serious look at. What we've got here is a Cheyenne 2500 Camper Special that's been given some serious updates. The odometer shows 60,040, but it has rolled over, pretty typical for a workhorse of this vintage. Under the hood, you're getting that classic Chevy V8 power, paired with an automatic transmission and four-wheel drive, exactly what you want in a truck of this caliber. The fresh 35 inches rubber with barely 20 miles on them is a major plus. The front end has been completely refreshed with new steering components from Les Schwab, including the intermediate shaft and steering box. It's got power steering, power brakes, and while it has AC, that's currently not operational, something to consider in your buying decision. One unique feature that really sets this rig apart is the included crane. That's a serious utility addition that could be invaluable for the right buyer. The yellow paint and clean title are nice bonuses too. For a 50-year-old truck that's been converted to a flatbed, the seller's description of good condition seems reasonable, especially with all those new components. This isn't a show truck. It's a working vehicle with real potential for someone who needs a capable classic hauler with some modern upgrades. 6. Let me tell you about this gem of a 1957 Ford F100 that's caught my eye. At $16,750, this short bed stepside is a beautiful piece of American automotive history. What makes this F100 special is its originality and thoughtful upgrades. Under that hood sits the authentic 272 cubic inch Y-block V8, a true icon of the era. It's paired with a 3-speed manual transmission with that classic column shifter that just takes you right back to the 50s. The previous owner made a smart modification by swapping in higher gears in the differential, making this vintage beauty more comfortable on modern highways. A practical upgrade that doesn't hurt the truck's authenticity. The odometer reading of 57,900 miles is particularly interesting, and based on the seller's assessment of the truck's overall condition, it could very well be original. That's remarkably low mileage for a 67-year-old workhorse. The clean title and green paint complete the package. What's really striking here is that this isn't some over-restored showpiece. It appears to be a well-preserved, thoughtfully maintained example of one of Ford's most beloved truck designs. The short bed stepside configuration is particularly desirable among collectors. 7. Let me tell you about this 1973 GMC High Sierra that's popped up for $5,500. I've got to point out something interesting right away. There's a discrepancy in the listing. The seller mentions both manual and automatic transmission, so that's something you'd want to clarify before making the trip. This is a classic square-body GMC, and at this price point, it's worth a serious look. The seller claims it's in like-new condition with no rust issues, which is pretty remarkable for a 50-year-old truck if true. The green paint gives it that perfect period-correct look that these old GMCs wear so well. What's particularly appealing here is that it's described as running and driving well, not always a given with classics of this age. With a clean title and apparently solid body, $5,500 seems quite reasonable in today's market for these increasingly popular square bodies. However, I've got to keep it real with you. The listing is pretty sparse on details. We don't know the mileage, engine size, or interior condition. The transmission confusion needs clearing up too. While the seller says, "must see to appreciate," you'll definitely want to do a thorough inspection and ask about the mechanical history. For $5,500, if this truck is as solid as described, it could be a great opportunity to get into classic truck ownership without breaking the bank. These High Sierras are gaining value as collectors realize how special these square-body GMCs really are. 8. Let me give you the straight scoop on this 1966 Chevy C10 project that's listed for $16,000. I've got to be completely honest here, this one needs some serious attention. First, there's something unusual to note. The listing claims it's FWD, front-wheel drive, which would be highly unusual for a C10. This is likely a typo, as these trucks were traditionally RWD. Let's break down what you're getting. The heart of this truck is a 70s-era 350 V8 with a 4-barrel carb, which is a solid power plant. There are some nice modern touches like power steering, power brakes, a new steering column, and an electric driver's seat. At $16,000, you're buying a project that's partially done, but still needs considerable work. While it has some good upgrades and new parts, the price seems ambitious given the amount of work still needed. The seller is upfront about it being incomplete, which is appreciated. This could be a good foundation for someone who wants to finish a C10 build their way, but make sure you factor in the additional costs of completing all the remaining work. These trucks are desirable when done right, but this one's still got a way to go before it's there. 9. Let me tell you about this interesting 1985 Chevy El Camino that's up for grabs at $8,000. This is one of those listings where we need to talk about both the impressive upgrades and some reality checks. Let's address the elephant in the room first. The odometer shows 579,350 miles. That's an incredible amount of miles, even for these robust vehicles. However, the seller has clearly invested in keeping this car truck running. The power plant is the 5.0 LV8 paired with the 200R4 automatic transmission, and both have received recent attention. There's a fresh tune-up and transmission service. The suspension has gotten some love too, with new front shocks and rear air struts that let you adjust the ride height. A pretty cool feature for an El Camino. For utility, it's set up nicely with those cargo hooks and the ability to tow. The white paint looks clean in the listing, and it's got a clean title with current registration. At $8,000, you're getting a well-maintained and upgraded El Camino, but that mileage count means you should definitely get a thorough mechanical inspection. While the seller describes it as excellent condition and mechanically good, that's a lot of miles on the chassis, even with all the recent work. 10. Let me tell you about this 1961 Chevy C10 Apache that's up for $11,500. I've got to be straight with you. This listing is incredibly sparse on details, which is something to consider when looking at a 60-plus-year-old truck. What we do know is intriguing. The odometer shows 28,000 miles, though with these older trucks, it's always worth confirming if that's original or after a rollover. The seller mentions it's rust-free and has lots of new parts, but unfortunately doesn't specify which parts, which is something you definitely want to ask about. The truck comes with an automatic transmission and a clean title, which are both positives. The Apache was Chevy's workhorse during this era, and these early 60s C10s are becoming increasingly collectible. At $11,500 with OBO, or best offer, the price point sits in an interesting spot for these trucks. 11. Let me tell you about this interesting 1977 Chevy K5 Blazer that's on the market for $22,500. This one's got some unique characteristics that make it stand out from the crowd. First up, here's something unusual. It's a Factory 2 WD K5 Blazer. Most K5s you see are 4WD, so this is a bit of a rare bird. Under the hood, you've got the classic 350 V8 paired with the reliable turbo 350 automatic transmission, a bulletproof combination that's easy to maintain and repair if needed. What's really catching my attention is the zero rust claim, backed up by its Arizona history. That's huge for these Blazers, as they're notorious for rust issues in other regions. The 70,000 miles shown on the odometer is relatively low for a 46-year-old vehicle. At $22,500, you're looking at a clean, well-modified example of a somewhat rare 2WD-K5. While some purists might prefer the 4WD version, this lowered 2WD setup gives it a unique street presence that sets it apart from the typical off-road ready K5S you usually see. 12. We're looking at a real piece of American truck history, a 1984 GMC Sierra 3/4 ton 4x4. Let me tell you, these square body trucks are becoming increasingly sought after, and this one's asking $11,000. This brown beast is powered by the legendary 350 small block Chevy V8 paired with an automatic transmission. The odometer shows 117,251 miles, but it's rolled over, so we're looking at quite a few more miles on this classic workhorse. Let's be real about the condition. It's showing its age. There's some surface rust from sitting, minor cancer, rust spots, and the paint's peeling in places. The muffler's blown out, and there are some electrical gremlins with the lights needing socket wiggling to get proper ground. The dash needs a cover, and the transmission's a bit sluggish when cold. But it's not all rough news. The interior is in good shape, all the glass is intact, and it's still running and driving. The frame appears solid with no major oil leaks or buildup underneath. It's still stock, except for the rims, which is great for collectors. It comes with a towing hitch and brake controller, ready for work. Located in Toccoa, Washington, this Sierra needs a complete fluid service before becoming a daily driver, but it's an excellent candidate for restoration. The seller's offering delivery or will consider trades. 13. We're checking out a sweet 1979 Ford F250, one of those classic dent-side F-Series trucks that's getting harder to find in good shape. This one's particularly interesting because it's a service body model, asking $9,000. What we've got here is a white 2WD F250, powered by a 351 MV8 that's been rebuilt, with only 5,000 miles on the new engine. The chassis mileage is unknown, but here's the good news. This truck spent its first 30 years in California, which means it likely escaped the rust issues that plague many of these workhorses. The service body is a major selling point here. All the storage boxes lock up tight and stay dry, and the seller has the keys, which isn't always the case with these old service trucks. The truck got some love around 2006 with new interior work and a fresh paint job. For those unfamiliar with the 351M, it's Ford's modified version of the 351 Cleveland, offering good torque for hauling. Paired with the automatic transmission, this setup is known for reliability and serviceability. At $9,000, you're getting a solid work truck with a documented history, rebuilt engine, and useful service body configuration. These dent sides are gaining popularity among collectors, especially clean examples like this that haven't been beaten to death. The California history and service body make this one particularly interesting for both collectors and folks who might actually put it to work. 14. We're looking at something special. A 1973 Ford F250 Highboy. For those who don't know, the Highboy is a legendary truck among Ford enthusiasts, built from 1967 to 1977, and got its nickname from its distinctive factory-lifted stance. This red beast is packing the mighty 460 cubic inch V8. That's 7.5 liters of pure American muscle. It's paired with an automatic transmission and has power steering, which makes this big truck a bit more manageable around town. The sellers just put some fresh parts in it. We're talking new battery, cables, solenoid, and carburetor. It's sitting on 16-inch wheels, which is a nice setup for these trucks. The odometer's rolled over, but that's pretty standard for a 50-year-old workhorse. Everything's working on this rig except the horn, and honestly, that's a pretty minor issue for a truck of this vintage. The seller notes it runs and drives well, which is what you want to hear with these old trucks. At $13,000, you're looking at an increasingly collectible piece of Ford truck history. True highboys, not to be confused with later lifted F250S, are getting harder to find, especially ones that run and drive well. The 460 engine is a desirable power plant, known for its torque and durability. With a clean title and what appears to be a solid running condition, this could be a great opportunity for someone looking to get into the classic 4x4 scene. These trucks have been climbing in value, especially original examples that haven't been modified to death. 15. We're checking out a sweet 1972 Ford F100. One of those classic long bed beauties in green that's up for grabs at $11,000. Under the hood, we've got Ford's robust 360 V8, paired with an automatic transmission. This truck comes with the convenience of power steering and power brakes, features that weren't always standard back in '72. Let's be straight about the condition. The seller's honest about some rust issues, or cancer as we call it in the truck world. There's rust in the doors and a couple of penny-sized spots in the rain gutter. But here's the good news. The bed is in great shape, which is often the worst area on these old workhorses. The interior's got a freshly recovered seat, and all the gauges and lights are working. That's actually pretty rare for a truck of this vintage. The seller says it starts, idles, runs, drives, and stops like it should, which is exactly what you want to hear. This is a 2WD long box configuration, which makes it perfect for both cruising and light hauling duties. The rolled over odometer is pretty standard for a 50-year-old truck. At $11,000, you're looking at a driver quality classic F100 that needs some metal work, but is mechanically sound. These early 70s Ford trucks are gaining popularity among collectors, especially original examples that haven't been heavily modified. The 360 engine is known for its reliability and torque. It's a workhorse motor that's easy to maintain and repair. 16. We're looking at something really interesting. A 1974 Chevy Blazer Cheyenne Project that's up for $12,000. Now, let me be upfront. This is a roller, meaning no engine or transmission. But don't click away just yet because this one's got some serious potential. The biggest selling point here is the professional bodywork done by American Stripping Company in Sacramento. If you know these Blazers, you know they love to rust in certain spots, particularly those upper rails under the removable top and the rocker panels. All that's been properly fixed here, and the front fender inners are already painted and ready for assembly. The floor's been prepped and sealed too. Now, here's where it gets really interesting for the off-road crowd. This Blazer's running a serious 1-ton drivetrain setup. We're talking a Dana 60 Kingpin front axle and a 14-bolt rear, both with ARB lockers. The transfer case setup is equally impressive with an NP205, mated to an NP203 as a doubler. That's some serious heavy-duty running gear. The interior needs work. There are no seats, though the seat brackets are included. The good news is the back floor is clean with no denting, which is rare for these workhorses. At $12,000, you're basically buying a blank canvas with some seriously beefy running gear and professionally restored bodywork. For someone planning a custom build, this could be a great starting point. The expensive rust repair and bodywork is already done, and you've got a stout drivetrain to build around. 17. We're checking out something special. A 1964 Ford Ranchero, one of those cool car-truck hybrids that helped define an era. This white beauty is listed at $12,900, and there's a lot to talk about here. Under the hood, we've got a 289 V8 paired with a 3-speed automatic. But here's the interesting part. This was originally a 6-cylinder car that's had a serious transformation. The seller's got $20,000 in receipts for the V8 conversion, which included upgrades to the suspension, drivetrain, and transmission. All this work was done within the last 5,000 miles. The odometer shows 51,000 miles, and the seller says it runs excellently, starting, running, and idling perfectly every time. That's exactly what you want to hear with a classic like this. Inside, you're looking at a fresh black interior with new carpet and upholstery, plus an upgraded stereo for modern convenience. The exterior's generally nice, though let's be honest, there is some body rust and slight surface rust present. But the chrome is good, and all the important bits like doors, windows, bed, and tailgate are in great shape. They've even put new rubber seals on the windows. Those period-correct Krager mags really set it off, and they're wearing fresh rubber with less than 5,000 miles on the tires. At $12,900, you're getting a unique piece of automotive history that bridges the gap between car and truck. The extensive V8 conversion work alone is worth considering, and these Rancheros are becoming increasingly collectible. Just keep an eye on those rust spots to prevent them from spreading. 18. We're looking at a sweet 1970 Ford F250 that's rocking some serious patina in green, listed at $11,900. Let's talk power plant. This big boy's running the robust 360 V8 paired with an automatic transmission, and according to the seller, both are performing well. The truck's got some nice amenities for its era: power steering, power brakes, and it even came with AC, though it's currently not working. But all the components are there for someone who wants to get it going again. The seller's been putting in some good work on this old workhorse. We're talking new window actuators, fresh weather stripping on both doors, and recent front-end bushings. Even the mirrors have been rebuilt and polished. That's attention to detail, folks. Now, being honest about the condition, it's got what the seller calls surface rust and a nice patina, which is pretty typical for a 55-year-old truck. But here's the important part. It sounds like we're talking about surface-level stuff, not the scary structural rust that can plague these old trucks. At $11,900, and they're open to offers, you're looking at a solid example of a classic F250 that's been maintained and upgraded where it counts. These trucks are getting harder to find, especially ones that haven't been beaten to death or modified beyond recognition. 19. We're checking out a seriously sweet 1965 Ford Ranchero that's asking $17,000. And let me tell you, this isn't your average Ranchero. First off, this is an Arizona car, which means we're talking about a rust-free example. No rot in those critical floor pans or transmission tunnel. That's huge for these classics. Under the hood, there's a fresh 289 V8 that's been built to perform. We're talking a new 4-barrel carb, high-rise aluminum intake, and headers flowing into a dual exhaust system. The transmission is a freshly rebuilt C4 automatic with a TCI shifter. That's a solid combo for both reliability and performance. The suspension has been seriously upgraded. Up front, you've got TCI tubular control arms, modern rack and pinion steering, and disc brakes. Out back, there are traction bars to help put the power down. Rolling stock consists of new wheels and tires all around. Inside, this Ranchero's got new bucket seats, an aluminum tilt steering column, and modern conveniences like an upgraded heat and defrost system, plus a Kenwood sound system. The bed is clean and comes with a custom tonneau cover. The red paint is fresh, and being an Arizona car, you're getting solid, clean sheet metal throughout. With 37,000 miles showing, this Ranchero combines classic style with modern drivability upgrades. At $17,000, you're looking at a well-sorted example that's been thoughtfully modified for better performance and reliability while maintaining its classic charm. These car-based pickups are becoming increasingly collectible, and this one's ready to drive and enjoy right now. 20. We're checking out a 1978 Chevy Blazer that's listed for $11,900, and let's be real about what we've got here. The seller's upfront about this being an amateur restoration, and I appreciate that honesty. Under the hood, there's a newer 350 V8 paired with an automatic transmission. And here's the good news. It's said to run and drive excellently, even at highway speeds. That's always important with these old rigs. One of the biggest selling points here is the working AC, and it's cold. Anyone who's owned a classic knows how rare that is. The 4x4 system is intact, and with 117,000 miles on the clock, this Blazer's still got plenty of life left. Now let's talk about the bodywork. There's some patchwork on the floor and cab mounts. That's pretty common for these K5 Blazers, and at least the repairs have been done. The seller's even throwing in the original rally wheels with newer Hankook tires. That's a nice bonus. At $11,900, you're getting a driver-quality K5 Blazer that's been fixed up but isn't trying to pretend it's a show queen. These late 70s Blazers are really gaining traction in the collector market, especially ones that run well and have working AC.